The opinions expressed on this podcast do not necessarily represent the views of Family Federation for World Peace and Unification.
Welcome to the Peace Starts With Me podcast. I'm your host, Demian Dunkley, President of Family Federation for World Peace USA. Today, we're joined by Greg Kelly, host of Newsmax TV's Greg Kelly Reports. Greg's personal experiences offer unique perspectives on fostering peace in our daily lives. So let's dive into his story and see what insights we can gain. There's a question I've been meaning to ask you, which is, tell us a little bit about your understanding of the zone of totality.
Wow, huh? What about that thing? Well, thank you for listening. Obviously,
no, I watched a couple of your episodes, and that one really stood out to me because I felt you were trying to draw on some, like where did this come from all of a sudden?
Well, they were using it as if it was a household phrase, and it wasn't. And everybody, I think there was a bit of virtue signal, like just calling it the zone of totality. Wait a second. I mean, I knew I could kind of figure it out. We can all kind of figure that out. But yeah. I thought it was a pretentious term.
Because we're assuming everybody knows this.
Yeah. And it just like to pretend that's a normal thing to say. Now, granted, some people may have been breaking it down, but I thought it was effective. You know what I mean? To poke fun at that a little bit.
It was funny.
Thank you.
It was funny. I was working. Did you watch the eclipse?
Yeah, I did actually. I jumped outside to look at it.
Yeah. I was with those guys. We were over doing some production, and I came out to look at it for a couple of minutes.
Yeah.
I remember seeing it as a kid. I remember enjoying, I think I was on the West Coast. There was something in the 70s or 80s.
What really impresses me about it is not so much the event, but that they know it's happening.
Yeah.
I mean, that our science is that good that, we know the next one is going to happen in 44 years.
That's true, right? Yeah.
It's baffling, mind-boggling, and they've known this for hundreds of years, by the way. They've been able to figure this out. I mean, it's just, we're pretty good. I mean, we're pretty clever, human race. Yeah.
But, there was a time when we could use that to show some kind of supernatural power, right? There was a few in the know, maybe?
Yeah. Well, the explorers, was it Pizarro, I think, frightened the Incas, maybe. I'm going to, rid us of the moon if you don't take care of us, something along those lines. So, yeah, but it is just exquisite. It's exquisite. I love it. I love it. People.
So you were. I heard a little bit from Curtis about your experience at Gospel Fest, but it was kind of a turning point for you, some kind of a life.
Professionally, I learned a lot.
Yeah.
Professionally, I learned a lot. And it was a lot of fun. But look, I was working very hard as a broadcaster, and I still am. But during my years on that program, Good Day New York, which was really a local show and very much kind of apolitical, I just kind of rolled my sleeves up and experimented and pushed myself. And it was an amazing opportunity, and I wanted to maximize it. And that doesn't mean coming in and reading scripts. That means just, how do I do this show as effectively as possible? How do we maximize viewership? How do we make this thing worthwhile when we have programs right down the block that have 50 times the budget? You know what I mean? I mean, like, how do you compete against that?
Right.
It was a wonderful opportunity, and I'm glad that I approached it that way. Very, very grateful.
So how would you say? I'm interested. Like, how do you describe your approach to content development? You're constantly reading the tea leaves of what's going on and speaking to it, or what's your workflow?
Well, thank you for the question. It's an interesting one. I'm always kind of massaging the workflow, but preparation is kind of continuous. I mean, I'm naturally curious about the world, so I'm always taking things in. I'm always observing. The idea that, okay, you have a guest on tomorrow and you have to prepare for it, do research. I know that this will sound crazy to some people, but I really don't do much research. Well, I already know certain things. Right. I know where this person fits. And also, by the way, look, I actually like to learn from other people, ask questions. This new kind of approach that a broadcaster, reporter, whatever you want to call him, a journalist, already has the answers. I like to learn from other people. Now, I do a lot of, I don't want to maybe call it pontificating, but a lot of commentary is from me.
Yeah.
And
so you're very clear about what you think, but you're curious at the same time.
I'm curious. Well, what I think, and also how to present that. I mean, there are a lot of things going on. How do we be unique? How do we separate ourselves? I'm already kind of unique, kind of almost by definition, making it as compelling as possible. And then when the guests finally show up, I'm kind of done talking. I really want to hear what other people have to say. And it's made me a much better interviewer. Some people, some reporters, journalists, whatever, all they get to do is the questions.
Mm-hmm.
And
many scripted, right? I mean,
they may script them themselves, but that's their time to show off. That's their time to show how much I know and look at this. And, look, it's an art, not a science. That's one thing I do like to say, and it's true in my opinion. Journalism, I don't usually use the phrase journalism. I'm a talk show host.
Right.
Journalism means different things to different people.
Yeah.
And so the workflow is constant. All right. I get up and I'm always just kind of taking it in, and then I'm putting this stuff together literally all day long. And hopefully the people like. I think they do.
And so you're taping
I tape every Monday through Friday.
Right.
The TV show is taped. The radio show is live from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. The TV show airs. Some segments are live, but generally airs between 9 and 10 p.m. And yeah.
And the storyline, the content, the conversation, one feeds into the other?
Yes and no. Yeah, a little bit. I'm still working things out all the time. And I'm a little bit manic on the radio in a good way, because you don't have too much to show. You know what I mean? So you kind of verbally, you go to certain places that I don't have to go on television. They're different. And I don't know if they're different. And I haven't actually kind of figured out exactly how they're different, Ask me in a year. But they are very different and different challenges, and I love them both.
You grew up, you were a police officer. Or you're the son of your father was a commissioner, your father was a police officer and a commissioner. What's that like? I mean, I know you come from a storied family, it's an interesting background. What was that like growing up with your father as a commissioner? What kind of experience was that for you?
Well, keep in mind, when I was born, my father was a police officer.
Right.
I think he may have been studying for the sergeant's test. I'm not sure. He was also going to law school. I mean, my father was a mid-level, entry-level to mid-level person for the first 4 or 5 years of my life, and then moved up the ranks. But when I was in high school, he was a police captain. This is not the police commissioner. You know what I mean? This is mid-level police management.
Yeah.
I was so proud of him, by the way. But the idea that when he became commissioner, I was already in the military. I was already finished with school, and I was an adult, and I was serving well outside of New York.
Right.
But look, my parents are just great people. They gave us everything. They provided very well for us, and we had a lot of fun. Great laughs, and we were really kind of tight knit, a team, if you will, and an older brother. And it was a real joy, and I was proud of my father. I knew early on that he was a different type of man.
Mm-hmm.
Principled, yes, and also I think the word is indefatigable or taggable. He never got tired. You know what I mean? Never complained either.
Wow.
Yeah, tremendous work ethic, and also the funniest person I've ever known.
Funny guy. So is that where you got your humor from?
I don't know, but to the extent I have one, I've heard that there are a lot of performers who, specialize in comedy, and I'm not one of them. I don't specialize in that.
But if it comes out, it's natural.
And a lot of them had funny fathers. It's a kind of it runs through the...
Yeah, it runs through the blood. So did he come home with stories? Would you hear stories, or would he kind of keep it?
Sure. No, he would have stories. Now, he came home at different hours of the night, so I don't remember him coming home and telling us stories.
Right.
But sure, police stories. We love to hear them. To this day, I love to hear them. I mean, and he has thousands of them, and it's the real deal. If you look at his resume, you know what he was doing, and from anti-crime to emergency services, which is kind of like the SWAT team. He's seen it all, and then also Vietnam.
Right.
So his stories are interesting. Now, he's not one to say, "Gather around, I have a story for you."
No, it's
you know
not
what I mean?
that. But
yeah, we would kind of pull it out of him. Not, that wasn't reluctant, but to this day, they're very interesting. And entertaining.
How do you think that shaped your view, your worldview?
Well, I briefly thought about going into law enforcement myself.
Yeah, because you were an officer in the Marine Corps later.
Correct, which is something that he did.
Okay.
And I had a longer commitment, however. I was in the Marine Corps for 9 years. I think he was in and out in about 3.5. He was a ground officer. I owed the Marine Corps, I owed the government more time because I became a pilot. And I owed them 5 years after flight school, so that worked out to about 9 years. I thought about law enforcement, but I realized, it was going to be a little bit tough with my father being already this kind of illustrious figure,
Right.
and I needed.
How would that work? It's like you start off on the same rung as everyone else and work your way up.
Look, I thought briefly about joining the FBI.
Really?
I saw myself as a future law enforcement executive, like he was.
Okay.
But by the time I got to the Marine Corps, 31, it felt like it was almost a little bit too late. Perhaps it wasn't, but I also wanted a break from the Marine Corps, which the FBI and law enforcement seemed like a very kind of militarized, somewhat militarized organization. And I wanted something
More creative, or
exactly, yeah, more creative, different from all that.
Well, thank you for your service.
Well, thank you.
Any interesting stories on while you were serving? Life-changing or lessons that we can learn from?
Well, interesting question. I got to do just about everything there was to do as a military pilot. I landed on aircraft carriers at night. I flew over Iraq. I met great people from all over the country, and got to see the world.
Yeah.
So it was such an enriching experience, which I'm very grateful for. And
Friends? You make friends on the...
I did, sure. Yeah, friends that I have to this day. I like being tested. I was being tested. It was a test almost every day, and I kind of grew almost addicted to that.
You like being tested?
Yeah,
That's
there's a time and a place to be tested. There's a time, and I love the challenge of it all. And so, yeah, there was really creative missions that we would do, and in-flight refueling at night, and low-level training, and night vision goggles, and just very unique activities that you really can't do anywhere else other than the military.
Right.
And I'm grateful. I'm grateful to the country.
Yeah. Gosh. I remember, I think, at 19 considering it, only because of that point of being challenged and discipline, because I had such a sort of creative, very... I traveled, I lived in so many different countries and places throughout my childhood. And I think I was looking for structure, and I was looking for training. I just thought about it. I never actually went for it, but I appreciate that it gives that to a lot of young men.
I had a book that came out early last year, and I did say that, at least for me, you're tested, and you're very much in the program. But when you leave, you kind of go back to your regular self.
You go back to normal.
Go back to whatever you were.
But would you say now in your work today, you kind of approach it with a similar, like, okay, I'll get on stage in front of 15,000 people, even if...
Yeah, the test, that's a challenge. And also, I would say, you go back to your regular self to a point. I love the mission focus, getting something done, no excuses.
Right.
And, to be honest, it probably has made me, to some degree, not the easiest person to work with, look, in the Marine Corps, people are yelling at each other all the time.
Right.
And,
You're used to that. Yeah.
Some of that did rub off on me, and it took a while to wait, I'm not in the military anymore. You know? And I only thought of it recently as kind of not a disability, but it was in a way as a small price that I paid.
Right.
Because I learned some things that generally you don't do in the civilian world.
So what are you most excited about right now? In I guess this could be in your work or in your life. What would you say is what project or what's going on for you right now that you're most excited about?
Well, I'm incredibly blessed, quite frankly, that I have 3 major projects. Number one project, a family, wonderful family. Yeah. My wife,
Congratulations.
Judith, thank you so much. My daughter, Annalise, and my younger daughter, Madeline. this happened to me a little bit later in life than it does for some other people, and they are perfect in every way.
How old are your daughters?
2 and 4.
Cute.
And it's that is a real joy. And my wife, we are just a great team, and we, it was a gift from God when I met my wife, and so that's wonderful. But it also, okay, you have to focus. You've got a lot of responsibility. So I'm also blessed that I have that I'm able to do content that I believe in, that I think is of value, and I'm in this unique position where I'm not beholden to mainstream corporate media.
Right.
I mean, we have a fantastic team at Newsmax that is not traditional corporate media, and there's a freedom that comes with that. And I'm very grateful to the people I work with. Honestly, Chris Ruddy and Elliot Jacobson, these men, especially Chris Ruddy, is a genius. And these people who create companies where people work, they're special. They're just special people. I mean, people grumble about the boss. Everybody grumbles about the boss. But look around right now. I mean, this is because of the boss who took a lot of risks, and built something
vision
amazing.
And creativity and risk.
Yeah. So
you appreciate those people.
I do appreciate those people, and I appreciate every day. I really do. I appreciate. I'm excited about today.
Right.
And there's plenty to be excited about. And then 2 programs and a family.
Yeah.
And and then beyond that, my wife is actually thinking. She thinks long term better than I do.
Okay.
I am too busy to worry.
Okay. Do you worry? Do you worry about?
No, I mean, I'm too busy to worry, and also
too busy to worry.
And you have to do a little bit of that, and a little bit of, but and it says in the Bible, and how are you going to add 1 hour of your life if you worry? Right. I allude to the Bible. I don't quote it directly.
You don't bring that up when your wife's worrying, though.
Well, actually, from time to time, I just might, and we have had many discussions about faith.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So I'm very, very fortunate, and that God didn't forget me.
Yeah, God bless you. That's awesome.
Thank you. And not that He would forget, but He had some work to do with me. He wanted to get my attention, I think.
Yeah.
And I started listening and started learning and started reading the Bible, and it's something that I was an atheist for a while, and I'm talking too much. Thank you.
But no, it's beautiful. I mean, so I'm really curious about, like, you get into work. From here, you're going into, like, how you hit the ground. Describe the scene. A day in the life of first year in the studio. Well, you have 2 studios, but you have a TV studio and then a radio studio. They're
right across the street from each other. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, that's
2 different companies, but they're right across the street from each other.
But you don't live across the street.
I only live a few blocks away.
Your first project. You're kidding me. Okay.
Yeah.
So you are all 3 projects very close to
right,
me. Okay.
Right. So I am always jotting things down.
Okay. Ideas occur to you jot things down.
Yes, in some sort of capture device, either a Moleskine notebook or... I really love the what do you call it? The Notes app, but with the pen and the colors.
So you write.
I write them down. The colors are just. I
haven't played with it yet. Okay,
they're so incredible, and so I'm always writing things down, and I go in and I look at a board and I think. I do a lot of thinking.
What kind of a board?
It's a big whiteboard.
Oh, I love whiteboards.
Yeah, it's about 3 by. I wish I knew the dimensions because I want to order another one.
Another one.
I always
for the other studio or for home.
No, I just want to order a new type. They are not particularly well made. The ones from Staples. So
okay, right.
I would like to get a metal one.
Okay,
I have about 10, quite frankly.
10 whiteboards.
Yeah, and most of them are the same size. Is it 6 by 4? I don't know what it is, but.
The guys I'm sure some of the guys are laughing right now because they know how much I like whiteboards.
Really?
I mean, I was even joking about hiring a whiteboard pusher. Somebody just to follow me around. Because so many times I want to communicate visually or jot things down. So you've got your iPad, you come in and you've got a board. How do you organize that?
Thank you for the question. I have a very specific system, and I can show you one. I have little magnetic tabs.
Oh, right.
With tape on them.
Right.
And red is a soundbite, blue is video, and a green is graphic. And so I arrange the show on these boards, and I have a great team. My line producer Sophie, and my other producer Megan, and Erin, and Lauren, and Olivia. They, it's terrific. I could not do this by myself. It's very much like, I have the ideas, but actualizing those ideas, I need
a
help.
team.
Yeah. I need, I can design a graphic, but I can't actually make the graphic.
Right. You know what you want. You can get an idea of what you want, but you need the team.
This episode of the Peace Starts With Me podcast is brought to you by our merch store. Check it out at peacestartswithme.com/collections. We have apparel and accessories for the whole family, including backpacks, pins, aprons, shirts, baby onesies and bibs, and more. Show your support and go to peacestartswithme.com/collections.
What would you say in terms of the dynamics of your team? Because there's time constraints. It can be high octane. It can be stressful. How do you find joy or peace in that? What usually occurs? Is it just everything's on time? You go to work hard and then you time off, you have fun, or how do you keep peace on the team? How do you keep harmony?
Well, the joy comes. My first reaction is when you
get it done.
Actually, prior to that, when you've crafted something and I see it and it works, it lands,
right?
And I'm like, that can be a joyous moment.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Perfect. It's going to, you can show up on television and read an essay that you wrote all day long.
Right.
It's just not going to land.
Right.
You have to show people things. You
Right.
have to. And when we produce content that I think will resonate, and I thought about it here, discussed it with a bunch of people, and then we refine it or whatever, and it comes back, and it can't wait to put that on TV because it's going to work.
Right.
And
you know it.
I know it. And also the idea driving it, it's important to have, I'm blessed that, I have the brain I do. God, has allowed me to discern certain things, and discernment is important. I never would have used that word a year ago. A listener suggested it to me, actually, that you discern things very well.
Yeah.
And there was something to that. And so, yeah, the idea is taking an interesting idea and then making it work on television is a lot of fun. Yeah.
What do you do for recreation or, letting your hair down?
So, to be honest, the workday is really jam-packed. It
sounds
really,
like.
Yeah. There's not much. I mean, I wish I could get to the gym. I'm really trying to. I mean, I have, that's another project I'd like to, and I can only dabble in it. So I'm always tinkering with my schedule.
So it's evenings and weekends. You have family time.
Well, I get home at about 10 o'clock.
Okay.
So it's maybe a little bit earlier. Sorry, 9:30 or so, and kids are asleep.
Right.
Weekends are. Don't do anything other than kids, hang around. And, and by the way, I have to kind of work at that because I always want to grab something or, grab something.
Your mind's always going.
Right. And it's good. It's healthy to turn off and step away. And sometimes I have a hard time doing that. And I don't want my kids to think of me as, a guy who always had his iPad
right.
open in front of him.
Right.
Although I do find the iPad a bit more healthy than the phone. I feel like it's just there's something about it. It's bigger. It's less secretive in a weird way.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
No,
Like people can see what you're doing. It's not like it's a private activity.
That's an interesting point. I get it.
But still, if you're on a computer, it's a computer. That has to be managed, and I want to do a better job at that.
So your children are 2 and 4. It's interesting you said 2 and 4. I find usually people start with the older and go down. You're in 2 and 4. Do you find times when your children kind of answer a question for you that you've been grappling with in your work life or your family life, or the kind of off time informs you in ways that you wouldn't usually find? Or is there? How do you find your family influencing your work?
Well, I'm probably even more passionate about it. I have a major stake in the game now with children.
Right.
So yes, your question it applies. I know one time one said something that gave me tremendous insight, but it's more like, oh my gosh, I can't believe they know that word or they know that concept, and that's great. But having a child too, and a family, and hopefully plenty of life left, and seeing the direction of the country and the world, it's most alarming and concerning.
Right.
And
you're thinking of their future,
very much so, and worrying about it. I guess everybody has. Anybody who's ever been a parent has done this, and that's a gift in and of itself. So it's on my mind a lot, and I don't want. One thing is, I never want them to be judged for things they can't control, and they can't control their race. They can't control their gender, although that now is somewhat debatable, which is to me abhorrent. And I don't. And I see society going in that direction, and a lot of people cooperating, a lot of people kind of taking themselves out because I'm this, I'm that, I should, whatever, altering their behavior based on things they can't control. Ethnicity, quite frankly, I see it the most from white liberals, who are in I think it's something they do to maintain their status, to maintain their power, where they kind of look at me, I'm white, I should step back right now. And that's just another way of kind of exerting power.
Okay, getting deeper into that, what would you say is the state of America today?
Well, we're in a very dangerous and strange and unprecedented place. I mean, in every way. Our culture is corrupt. I think our government is in large part corrupt. These institutions that I took for granted and that I believed in apparently are thoroughly corrupt. I mean, the FBI. I mean, this is also a vestige of J. Edgar Hoover and all the PR work he did. But I grew up with the FBI is the most prestigious law enforcement organization in the world.
So it's not just that we hear more about things, but that things are deteriorating in those institutions.
I do think so. But it's an interesting question, like how much of this has always been going on. And that there's something that's a question. I don't have the answer for it, but, for instance, it has been going on for a long time. A lot of malfeasance. I can't even begin to understand or grapple with it or summarize it because it's not been happening. We have not had access to it. I used to think that John F. Kennedy was killed by Lee Harvey Oswald, right? One guy by himself. I thought that up until the last couple of years. What a naive thing to think. What a naive and silly thing to think. So yeah, I am waking up. I love our country. I love our Constitution. But a lot of these players, well, you can't find them in the Constitution. And I think they're doing great harm to the country.
So what's driving this, do you think? What do you think, here's a question I sometimes ask, like what problem, if fixed, would have the greatest positive impact on the country?
What problem, if fixed, would have the greatest positive? That's a very interesting question. Look, I think that faith, God, Christ, has been so minimized in people's lives. I would say that if people got closer to God, now we are all about, our vices, our appetites, as if that's what defines us. Mm-hmm. I don't believe it does. So getting closer to God. I mean, look, everything, I leaned slightly left for a long time. And I really started to grow in every way when I got closer to God. Somebody gave me a Bible more than 10 years ago. And I remember being vaguely insulted. Like, when did you become such a church lady? What's this all about? I don't need anything. I got it all figured out. And thankfully, that attitude did not prevail. And in a way, on my knees, I went looking, not really on my knees, but I was getting there. And I started reading and I started learning and I started, oh my God, things started happening. I mean, and this is the word of God. This is real. And there are ways to live that please him and maximize our potential.
Right.
And there are ways to live that disappoint him and can potentially ruin us.
And you see a corollary between those behaviors and how it affects society. So if there were more people willing to surrender to that, we would see different behavior.
I think so. I mean, I sound a little boastful. I don't want to, but I look at what it's done for me. And I used to really Manhattan, a Democrat, I was in that world to some degree. And so, yeah, I think it could help a lot of people. I think it could help everybody, but it's a choice, we do have free will, and the forces in the world are very, very powerful and seductive, and so is the devil.
And there's also a force against. It became uncool for several decades to speak about God or church or faith. But I'm hearing from my son, who's 21 and Z generation. He's telling me that actually on TikTok today and among that younger audience, there's many who don't have a bad association with the idea of, there's curiosity about God again, apparently, for some, which I find interesting. But it, like you said, 10 years ago, somebody gave you a Bible, you would have taken it as an insult. I think there's a lot of people that feel that way, and perhaps the silent majority factor plays here too. There's a lot of people that feel the same way that you just expressed, but it's not necessarily, you can't bring it up in school, you can't bring it up in the office, you can't, where can you share it?
Well, I hope they do start bringing it up. I mean, 10 years ago, it would have sounded really crazy that I would be going around comfortably, not proselytizing, but when it comes up, and I do like to share because perhaps it might have some positive impact on someone. So, wherever I go, it usually comes up. And, I'm just me. I think anybody can do that, and they should.
Yeah.
We should share these things and not be afraid.
Right.
But what are the harmful consequences? I mean, HR doesn't want us talking about that? Did they really ever tell you that? Did they really come around and that you can't talk to a colleague about your faith journey? Does it really say that, or are you making an excuse for yourself?
Right.
So,
what about in the journalism field? Is it what's behind the curtain there? How does faith play a role, or is it,
In the journalism field, I mean, look, I prepare. Like I said earlier, the journalism field is a lot of different things to a lot of different people. You know what I mean? And fake news is a real thing. I mean, it's absolutely awful what's happening in so many places. It's crazy. It's utter insanity. My sense is that, from what I know, that these people are not close to God, and I hope that they are as, I don't want to say lucky, blessed as I have been, that they wake up, and that they, this is the ultimate truth, and it's out there for each and every one of us, and that we all have work to do. Made me think about something. Yeah, there are some people out there. I don't know what makes them tick.
Yeah,
I kind of do, but I'm becoming so unfamiliar with that life and what they worry about. I didn't answer your question. So I don't know really what's happening with other people. I can only really worry about myself. I know overall, look, I saw this on CBS. I played it on my show last night. I mean, Ed O'Keefe from CBS News was fawning all over Pete Buttigieg, right? The Secretary of Transportation. Welcome. We're privileged to have you here on Easter Sunday. And saying goodbye to him, he said, well, you be sure to say hello to Chasten and the kids, right? Now, Chasten happens to be Pete Buttigieg's husband, and they have kids, which is, an unusual arrangement. At least it was up until about, 8 seconds ago. But it was a virtue signal on the journalist's part. You see, I'm bringing this up, and it's totally unremarkable, but it is. And then moments later, there was a Republican on. And just really treated them somewhat harshly.
I see.
And at the end just said, you're not going to, what do you think of this Donald Trump Bible? Donald Trump actually is selling a Bible. What do you think of that one? And of course the person took the cue and didn't defend it. You're not going to buy one of these, are you? I said, no. And I mean, a little microcosm of what's going on, By the way, just if I can put this out
on
there.
camera. That's not even behind the curtain. This is what's going on. Yeah, on
Right.
camera.
Look at us. Look at how what? I don't know what they're, but I will say this, I pick on a lot of people. I'm pretty aggressive.
You poke. Yeah, you poke and pick.
I do, and I highlight what I see as failures, moral and otherwise. And but I have come up with I don't want to call it a rationalization, but maybe it is. I love everybody. I don't have to like everybody, but I love everybody. And the Bible also says, treat others the way you want to be treated.
Right.
Well, I got to a place where criticism is fine. I don't mind it. It makes no difference. Literally, if there's a lot of criticism, that's usually a good sign that your message is breaking through or whatever.
Right.
But it's kind of like looking at the weather report in Europe. You know what I mean? It doesn't really mean anything to me. And I hope others learn those techniques.
Is that a technique for you, or
it's a technique? I mean, it's not even a trick. I mean, that's how I feel. That's how I actually, it doesn't. There's a guy somewhere in the country who makes these massive videos about me every couple of weeks, and they're like,
love. It's a lot of attention.
Yes, but I got to be honest with you. I've never actually been able to watch
it. Yeah.
No, not because it's like, I mean, they're too long, so they're not, and I don't know. It just, 10 years ago, if I found out there's a guy who's obsessed with you who lives in Ohio and he's always making videos about you, I'm like, really? There is?
Right.
Now it's like, and that is, it doesn't really matter what people think. I mean, then again, I'm in the audience creation business, so it does, but
you don't want to relate. You don't want to relate to that.
No.
It's the Weather Channel in Greek. It's like,
yeah.
So what about Trump? I mean, how do you feel about the news cycle with regard to how a week doesn't go by without him in the news? How do you? Yeah. What have you got to say?
An hour. Well, look, I love the guy. He's the most fascinating personality and public servant, like in 1,000 years. I first met him in 1987 at a book event. He started making an impression on me, though, in 2009, 2011. I would interview him sometimes for Good Day New York. And there was just something very different about this guy. And one year I actually played him for Halloween. We always did these skits on Halloween. It was 2011, and he was making a lot of news questioning the citizenship of Obama. And I wanted to do a good job. I always went all in on these Halloween skits that we put on TV. And I'm studying him. And I'm like, I talked to a friend of mine, like, what is it about this guy? There's an essence. And I'm like on the cusp of discovering it, but I can't put it into words. And he said, well, he's always right. Like there's always, sure, there's exaggeration, but you know what? That's how people talk, I read 1 million books last summer. You don't mean you read 1 million books last summer. You know what I mean? It's just like, and it works. It's one of the most effective communicators, most intriguing people. And I think he's just done great things for the country. Now, I understand he has got rough edges and, it turns people off, some people, but I think it's so much more productive to study him. And what can you learn from this person? And you can learn a lot. So
what are the anti-Trumpers afraid of in terms of the news cycle and everything? What are they afraid of in this person, do you think?
I don't know. I mean, because what are they afraid of? They believe in the lies that have been told about him. And there are a lot of good people out there who have heard nothing but lies about Trump. Sooner or later, I would love to see President Trump kind of talk to them a bit more directly, to the people who have been lied to. And that's just about everybody. But, if you don't like me, if you think I'm this, if you think I'm that, I'm talking to you tonight. And I want you to know. I mean, he's done this before, but it's usually just a line or two. I want the whole message. And I think so. January 6th has been totally exaggerated. They never had that experience that I did, studying him 5 years before he ran for president. People don't have that time, But look, if you look at his policies, forget his demeanor. I think the demeanor is great. I do. And I love the tweets even. I love the directness. I love the candor. And it's something that has actually helped me. You know what I mean? Study him. Don't mock him. this guy is incredibly special. I do think it's, many, many blessings from God. These things are not happening without his permission.
He's a curious figure. You look at leaders throughout history, sometimes they don't come from the normal crop. So he's really that kind of outsider that's prepared in different ways.
And I think actually the fact that he's older and had never held public office before, when you're a younger man, there's a primal urge to support your family. You must take care of your family. Barack Obama would go home at 6:00 at night when he was president to have dinner with his family. Now, isn't that great? Yeah. If you want to be father of the year, if you want to be a great president, there are other things you have to be doing. And he never really wanted to break a sweat.
He was young. Yeah, in that sense. He was still a family man.
Right. And he was like constitutionally not allowed. I mean, but physically almost. There's a primal physiological urge to put his family and himself first because that decades left of life. Trump had fame. He had money. He had all that stuff. And he
wasn't proving anything. Yeah.
He was giving back.
Yeah.
Stuff that he actually is a true skill. None of these people have any genuine skill. Politicians. They don't. And Trump had genuine skill. Eisenhower, genuine skill. But the rest, not really. In my opinion.
This episode of the Peace Starts With Me podcast is brought to you by our merch store. Check it out at peacestartswithme.com/collections. We have apparel and accessories for the whole family, including backpacks, pins, aprons, shirts, baby onesies and bibs, and more. Show your support and go to peacestartswithme.com/collections.
So, thank you for coming in. I want to ask you, this Peace Starts With Me brand came from a conversation with people in Manhattan. I approached a bunch of folks just randomly in the street, asking them the same question I asked you about what problem, if fixed, would have the biggest change, biggest positive effect on America. And there's like 20 different answers in the first 20 people. One mentioned, God and the Bible. Another one mentioned, do a DNA test and realize that you come from different places. But most were talking about politics or problems in society. I noticed a common theme. I noticed that Americans felt divided. And this was 2017. I don't think it's gotten any better. But they felt divided. They were expressing a divide. It was a race issue, or it was an economic issue, or it was a historical and modern issue. There was a divide that they felt they were the victim of. But the other common theme I found in all of their answers was that it was, somebody else's responsibility to solve that problem. So they were very clear about the problem, and it was somebody else needs to solve it. So that's where the Peace Starts With Me theme came from, because everybody was clearly looking for peace, would love peace, but they were clear about the biggest problem blocking peace, and it was somebody else's problem to solve. So that's where this Peace Starts With Me theme came from. And so we like to ask, you've expressed already in depth, really, about your experience with God and how that's changed your faith. But I just want to give you another shot. Like, what would you express to those listening, watching, whoever it is? How do we find peace in the world today? How can I do a better job of being a person that brings peace into the room, brings peace into the equation, even when there's chaos going on, there's division. You've had lots of different experiences in your life. So from your life lessons and from what you've learned, how your faith fits into that in real terms, what comes to mind as a message for Americans today?
Well, that's one heck of a question. It's a good question. I really would go back to what I said about getting closer to God. We almost all know that there's a God, right? Mm-hmm. And he wants to be closer to us. My faith, I'm a Christian. The portal to that was the Bible. And I have tried to read the Bible many times in my life and been thoroughly confused, disappointed, lost and didn't try that again for 5 years.
Right.
The Bible that I was given in 2012 was the Charles Stanley Life Principles Bible, which is the King James Bible, but it had little footnotes and things like that. That is my answer. Seek God, know God. And miracles will happen. And he wants the very, very best for us. I can tell you, I mean, in my own journey, I was going to die. I was going to die if I stayed on the path that I was on. And he saved me in so many ways. And that's available to each and every one of us. It's available to everybody. So I can't fix the world. I don't have an answer that's going to straighten everything out. Well, maybe that will, but that's what I believe. And I wish everybody luck in that journey. One thing about the Charles Stanley Life Principles Bible is it had little notes and explainers that kind of broke down the language for me.
Context to it, yeah.
Yeah, and some things are like, now I don't need those notes anymore. You know what I mean? And anxiety evaporated. Anxiety left my life.
That's
anxiety.
Interesting.
I have deadline pressure from time to time,
right.
but I am as excited on Sunday night as I am on Friday night. It's just, and I always was intrigued by that because Sunday night was never a good night, Sunday nights,
Yeah.
And I remember thinking long ago, wow, wouldn't it be great if you could engineer your life where you were, this feeling did not happen.
Right.
Well, it doesn't happen. And I just want to share the good news. And I believe this is the way. He talks about that. Worrying will not add 1 hour to your life. And I care more about you than the birds and all these things. And, but he wants things from us. He wants, and therefore our benefit. So,
just briefly on that, wants things for us. So it's sort of you at an individual level. Are you also talking purpose in terms of your unique path and purpose as a human being?
Well,
or are you just referring to wants happiness and joy for us?
For me, there were things that I was doing that the world says you can do.
Right.
You know what I mean? I don't want to get into too many details,
right.
but have you ever watched an episode of 2.5 Men with Charlie Sheen?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, this is the lifestyle that was encouraged.
Right.
And I'm not blaming 2.5 Men. That was my own choice, my own responsibility. And it was not good for me, not good for others. And he didn't want me to live like that.
Right.
And he got my attention in a pretty big way. And then I wondered, and I went back to my ways. And then an evangelical Christian told me, I said, what do you think of that? You know what I mean? Was I just punished for something? He says, no, you weren't punished, but he is trying to get your attention. And I'm like, it works that way? It works that way. And there are so many examples in the Bible of it working that way. And so last thing on that, I mean, the Bible, the way to live, I used to think that it was keeping us from having a good time, but no, it's to maximize our joy, and protect us and keep us safe.
Yeah, that's interesting. A lot of people refer to faith as something that's, harnesses you back or holds you back, but actually can free you up. And you mentioned anxiety, just evaporated compared to life before. I think those types of testimonies are really important for people today. I mean, whether they're taking drugs or getting their fix in one way or another, whatever it is, they're trying to chase away probably the same feeling and making it worse by doing so in that way. I mean, we will do that. So faith used to be something that was commonly practiced. Then it became really challenged. And it's really encouraging to see people in media like yourself not only have principles and speak to them, live to them and confess them, but also to, give a good shout out for God. Because, our motto in our organization is, our mission statement is God's dream, one family. God's dream, one family. And kind of like you said before, we love everyone. It doesn't mean you can trust everyone's motivation. It doesn't mean you can like what they do or like who they are today. but people can change. But how can a created being get very far without a relationship with its creator? And so you're describing something that is completely unique to you and absolutely universal at the same time. It's like something we all yearn for. And it's just great to have people in media who speak to it confidently. So,
well, thank you. I thank you so much. It's tremendous to be with you. And I mentioned Newsmax. If you don't mind, I'm incredibly grateful to the people at WABC Radio.
Yeah.
And John Katsimatidis, who owns the station, and his Lieutenant Chad Lopez. I'm still learning.
Yeah.
I am still learning. I don't pretend to have it all figured out.
Yeah.
And
I think that's where your energy is coming from too. I mean, you know, you have your family, you have your relationship with God and your faith, but with that curiosity, it's driving you, right? I can see.
It is. It is. And also just not hopefully not getting cocky, not getting too confident. And, you know, I read the Bible. I'm a good person. You know, get out of my way. And if you're not careful, that can happen.
Sure.
And quite frankly, you know, there was a matter at at the radio station where, you know, I think I was a little bit. Anyway, I've had tremendous opportunities for growth, and you have to seize them. And I will say that I said it about management. I mean, the people who hire you. I mean,
God bless them.
God bless them. And, you know, like you're happy for a day and then you start, you know what I mean? The blah, like, I should be getting more money, I should get this, I get that.
Right.
No, they're saints in a way. You know what I mean? They really are. So
you appreciate them. I think what you're mentioning also speaks to the thing you mentioned before about, you know, challenges, facing big challenges, because those challenges or tests, you use the word tests, they force you to reassess your relationship with everything, the status quo. That you can become complacent, you know, cocky, but I can see a parallel between that. Like the challenge can force you to be more than you were yesterday.
Can I tell you one thing about that?
Yeah.
Just if you don't mind. You heard about Chef Andres and the World Central Kitchen, right?
Yeah.
So I've been looking at him and looking at his statements, and I had a similar light years short of that, but I feel like he got a little bit carried away with himself and like, I am feeding the world. Okay. I'm a great person, and cutting corners and doing like, I years ago started volunteering at a soup kitchen, and I felt like, oh my goodness, everybody loved me, and I'm like, I'm a great person. I'm volunteering at that. I went every Sunday night, and at the same time, I had a minor ethical challenge. The kind of thing that you might email the ethicist at the New York Times. You ever see that column, right? You know, is this a genuine business expense, or is this something else, right? And I kept on thinking, I don't know if I really am. And I kept on putting it off. And finally, I started volunteering. And wow, this is great. Everybody is appreciating me, and I'm such a good person. The next time I did my paperwork, I saw this thing that I had doubts about.
Yes.
And I thought, of course I'm filing this. Of course this is a genuine business expense. I felt so entitled. Where before I had this, I don't know, it's a gray area.
Interesting.
And I stopped myself. And it was such a beautiful, wonderful learning experience, because if you're not careful with this, you know, it's all from God. You know, we need him, and we're still in the flesh and kind of weird. You know what I mean? Right. So you got to keep coming back. Anyway, that was an amazing lesson.
It's great that you watched that happening as it was happening, and
I was so lucky.
That's discernment.
Right.
Okay, we've got the conflicts in the Middle East continuously, more recently Gaza and Hamas and Israel. You've got Russia, Ukraine, North-South Korea, an old story, but always hot. How in these circumstances can we bring peace?
Well, number one, I don't know. All right. I mean, I'm not. Why
do we bring this guy around?
I can't tell you. There are a lot of smart people. However, I will say this: Ukraine, Russia, I want to hear about peace. I want to hear discussions about peace. This is one conflict where nobody seems to be, there's no peace table. There are no negotiations. I like what Donald Trump has said. I want the dying to stop.
Yeah,
You know? I mean,
it's such a good expression.
right.
I want them dying. Okay, how can we attack that statement?
Yeah, which somehow that's a radical statement. Regarding Israel and Gaza, well, Israel faced the most barbaric attack imaginable on October 7th. I am dismayed and heartbroken at the reaction of the world that they would question and nitpick Israel at this time. They have a duty, a solemn duty, to eliminate Hamas. I hate that there's collateral damage. I believe that the Israelis are doing everything they can to minimize collateral damage, but collateral damage will happen in war. It happens in every war. A shockingly large percentage of casualties are friendly fire. When we invaded Iraq, you know what I mean? It happens. And that's why you don't want to fight war unless it's absolutely necessary. This is absolutely necessary for Israel. And the public conversation and Biden's treatment of Netanyahu, it disgusts me, quite frankly. And that man is depraved and lost. Although I do believe redemption is available to anybody, including him, including Hunter, including Ashley Biden. I hope she gets it. Ashley Biden, thumbing through her diary, which I feel bad about, and I would never discuss what's in the diary, even though everybody, but some of the issues that she's gone through, I've gone through. And I hope and pray that, that she finds God. And she refers to God. I shouldn't really talk about the Bible. I have a policy. If you find a Bible, you return it. And the people at Project Veritas, I think they didn't do anything wrong, but I don't want to be sitting around talking about her Bible. But I'm familiar with some of the challenges that she's had. And I think that is the key in a more serious way than she's been approaching it. And regarding, I don't know, North Korea, South Korea, I will say this. I thought it was an amazing thing that Trump did, reaching out to Kim Jong-un and those meetings. And it horrified, of course, the deep state, the permanent government. It's not up to them. This is supposed to be a democracy. And what he did was brilliant, traditionally American, that's the way it's supposed to be. I like the idea that he can pick up the phone and call somebody else. Doesn't need 15 people on the phone, and it's got to be agreed 3 weeks ahead of time. And we're going to talk
basically
about this. Yeah, it's other people who are not elected, who are not accountable, are running the country, running the world, and I don't like that.
So what do you see coming up next? We got the elections coming up. What do you see happening?
I don't know. I want Trump to win. I think he can win. I'm nervous a little bit. I don't trust the other side to play fair. I think we may see some miracles. I think we may see some spectacular things. I don't know what they are. I have no idea. I think that Trump can win. It may take a miracle. Miracles have a way of finding Donald Trump. Let's face it, right? So, but I don't know. But on that, I have some anxiety. I have some anxiety. I'm a little anxious about, what could happen, what will happen. I don't know. But I want him to win. I think it would be best for the country. I also want him to start talking to people on the other side in a way that he hasn't before. I think he can do it. Rocky 2. Stallone switches from left-handed to right-handed or right-handed to left-handed, changed the whole game. I think he could do something like that.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Thank you, Greg, for coming in.
Very,
God
very
bless
much.
you, brother.
Great to see you.
I know you're a really busy guy.
So
swooping through on the way in.
Wow. I hope Greg's story has inspired you on your own quest for peace. Join us on the next podcast, July 18th, with radio host Liz Black as we continue this incredible journey. And remember, peace starts with me. It starts with you. And together, we will be the peacemakers of our time.
Peace Starts With Me podcast is produced and directed by A. Curtis Farrow. Assistant producer, Koichi Nakai. Associate producers, Albin Gaval, Ron Lucas, Terry Gadsden, and William Lagrateria. Editor, Albin Gaval. Audio engineer, Oji Bahian. Media director, Robert W. Alexander of 360 Wise Media. And PR and branding by Irving Street Rep.